morning everyone, it's Samantha here from Autumn Rabbit Crafts. If you are new here, welcome. I hope you like what you see, and for those who are returning viewers and returning subscribers, thank you very much for still being here and still being with me, even though I have been quiet for so long, up until I think it was probably 2 weeks today. Today's Wednesday. I think I uploaded my first video either last Wednesday or last Thursday, I can't remember. I can't remember the exact date, but anyway, today is Wednesday, the I don't know the date, but I'm hoping to upload this today, or at least by Friday. And to all those who have been here for a little while, welcome back. I've said that. See, I tend to repeat myself a lot, and I do apologise for that. I've got a bit of brain fog today. But yes, welcome to my little channel. You can find me as Autumn Rabbit Crafts on here, obviously. Also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, which I'm starting to be a bit more active on. I have a board on Pinterest, and also on Ravelry I'm known as Autumn Rabbit Craft, because they wouldn't let me have the S. Apparently I was one letter over, so I dropped the S, and that was a smart thing to do, and it meant I get to keep Autumn Rabbit Craft. So how about you pick up your favourite cup, and your favourite cup of whatever. Mine's tea, as always, usually. This is my gorgeous mug, which was a birthday present from my husband, and it's even got a bunny. I love my gorgeous cup. But yeah, so how about we have a cup of tea, coffee, whatever you like to drink together, and have a little bit of a chat. Now this is take 2. I did make a video yesterday. Apparently it was 2 hours long. I tried to upload it. I tried to edit and upload it. I've got this new... it took me forever to download this free editing software, and then it wouldn't let me upload to YouTube, so that's going to be deleted. And I don't know how it went on for 2 hours, but this time I'm using my iPad, well, my pad, as a clock, so hopefully it doesn't go on that long. And also my camera decided to have a hissy fit again, and it did exactly what it did on the first video, so hopefully they won't do that this time, but we'll see. I have my show notes in front of me because I think I may have mentioned in the first video I have a most terrible memory. So how about we get into the first thing that I'd like to talk about, and I'm sorry about my nose is a bit itchy. So what am I making? I have a couple of whips to share with you. I also have a frogging to share with you too, and I'll get to that in a minute. So my first whip is the beginner diagonal shawl by Noble Knits. I found this on Ravelry, and then I found her tutorial on YouTube, and everything I mention, everyone I talk about, whatever I've bought and I show you, I will make sure I link in the description box. So if I forget anything, please do comment and let me know that I forgot to let you know some piece of information. Or if you want to ask me anything, please don't hesitate to comment, and I will get back to you. But this first one is, I'm calling it my winter shawl. I wanted to knit a shawl. I've been wanting to knit a shawl for quite some time, and I've always wondered how you knit a triangular shawl. And I was on Ravelry, and I found loads of ones, and as I think I showed you the elementary wrap excuse me, that I was working on by Pearl Soho. I was working on that, and I'll get to that in a minute. But this one is a free pattern I got off Ravelry, and I forgot what the lady's name is, but she's known as Noble Knits on Ravelry. And this, I've got another DPN cozy. This one is from, I forgot the name of the shop, so if I'm able to edit and I will put it on. And if not, I will put it in the description box underneath. I got this one from Etsy as well. I got this because it's autumn themed and it's acorns and things like that. But here is the shawl. This is my winter shawl, and it's also been commented, well, my daughter said, can I have that when you've knitted it? So it's already got a home, which is fine because I'm knitting myself Lord of the Rings shawl, that I mentioned in the first episode, which is looking a little different now. But this one is in Berger de France wool. I got it on sale from Blue Buttons in sale. It's the recline. Yeah, I can't pronounce it. Recycline, I think it's actually pronounced, maybe. Beton colour. And it is, I'm guessing this is the lot number is 20128, and the colourway I think is L6943 because it's in French, and I don't understand French very well. It is a 20% worsted wool, it is a 30% acrylic, and it's 50% other fibres. And I got it local to me, as I said, from one of my favourite shops in Sale. It's the only wool shop in Sale, actually. And I got these stitch markers from, again, from Etsy. I don't know if you can see them. They're all sorts of different colours. I forgot what the shop's called, but I will try and either put it on the screen or in the description box, because there is an editing program on my computer which may work. Who knows? We'll see. But they're so very pretty. I did find another wool shop online thanks to another YouTuber who I'll mention very soon, and I've seen the stitch markers that I really want. So this is whip number 1. It was literally just cast on 3 stitches, and then it was a matter of knitting, increase, knitting, increase, and that's how you go on until you've finished the shawl pattern. I don't know how many balls this is going to take. So far it's taken 1. I'm on ball number 2 and I've got this one, so I'm hoping it only takes 3. As it's for my daughter now, it might just be fine with 3. We'll see. Because I don't know if I can get any more. I need to pop to Blue Buttons to have a look. And so whip number 2, not quite the shawl that I had started. I started, as you saw in the first one, the elementary wrap from Pearl Soho that I'm doing in Chez Pièce, which I got from Wool Warehouse. There's one part, there's the other part, and then there's the actual shawl. It went a bit wrong. To be honest, I've not been happy knitting this. One, I was getting a bit bored because it's just literally, I love knitting, but if it's like one kind of type of pattern all the way through, I can get a little bit bored. So this was in stockinette stitch. I also had added stitches at some point, and then I knitted them together, and then I found a hole in it, which I don't know how that happened. And then to top it all off with, I had dropped a stitch, and then I went to pick it up and my knitting needle came out of it. So after a little bit of oh dear, what have I done, and maybe a few tears, not quite, to be honest. I was going to frock it anyway, to be honest. I started again. So it's still quite warm here. We are starting autumn. It has been raining. I've seen colours of the leaves changing on the trees at last. But it's a little bit mild today. And yesterday was bonkers. In fact, it was noisier yesterday. So I'm glad I'm re-recording this, because the bin men turned up and then something else happened, and then there was cars, and it was quite noisy. But still using my DPN Cozy from, I forgot the name of the shop. It is mentioned in the first video. I will link the information, this one. And like I said, I bought it mainly because of the rabbit. And, oops, sorry. It keeps hitting the yarn ball. I've started using the Noble Knits shawl pattern. And yeah, so I've only literally just started it. This was maybe a few hours knitting work. And I have to admit, I'm enjoying this a lot more because it's having to increase every other row. So I'm really starting to enjoy this, and I think I'm going to enjoy this even more now. So as I've mentioned, this is done in Clipchamp. I think that's how you pronounce it. Apologise for all the noise. And it is in, if I can find my project bag. Oh, this is a project bag that was made by Joe Hill, the textile artist. I got it from the Festival of Quilts. I won tickets one year, and we got there after starting out quite late in the day, and then it took us not a stupid amount of time to get there, but I was feeling unwell this day, and I went straight to her stall, and I didn't have any money. That was the worst thing. Is I picked a day, or well, I picked the day when I had no money. So literally we were there for an hour, and then my little girl was bored because she would have been, I think it was 2018. So she'd have been either 3 or 4. I think she might have been 4, because it might have been 2019, and she had a very uncomfortable ride because her car seat wasn't very comfy, and she wanted to go home, and I wanted to go home, and we ended up going after an hour. So visiting the Festival of Quilts is something that's on my list. I'll chat about that in a little while. But yeah, I love nature, anything with nature on it, anything with birds, foxes, rabbits, trees, anything autumnal looking. So I love this, and it fits my shawl in at the moment very, very well. So here's the label for it. So it's Clipchamp wool, and it's colour 701, lot 1136, Hidden Pathway, which is a perfect name for a Lord of the Rings shawl. And it's a silk blend yarn, and it takes 4mm knitting needles. And as I've mentioned, I love circular knitting needles. I find them much easier for my hands as well, having arthritis in my hands. So I find them a lot more comfortable to knit with. Although I am knitting something, and the ones I'm knitting with are a bit big, and I can't remember what it is I'm knitting. And these will fit it when the shawl gets larger, because you saw the other one. So I'm going to probably get knitting this afternoon. So that's my knitting whips for now. What else? My books. I wanted to share my favourite books, but my camera cut out last time, so I'm going to do it now. Now, this first one is a knitter who I have been following for many years. I've read about 3 of her other books. She always makes me laugh. She's really funny. Her writing style it's just so funny. I can highly, highly recommend her. I absolutely love her knitting, her books. I follow her on Instagram, and we are friends on Ravelry. And this first book is At Knit's End, Meditations for Women Who Knit Too Much by Stephanie Pearl McPhee. If you're as an obsessive knitter as I am, I'm sure you've probably come across her name before. She is known as the Yarn Harlot. The very first book I picked up was in a shop called Borders. So that was a long, long time ago. If you ever remember a bookshop called Borders, I picked one of her books up from there, and I wasn't sure, and I put it down, and a few years later I bought my first yarn harlot book. I forgot what it was called. Haven't a clue, but it's in my Ravelry library because I've added it. And this has got on the back: do you ever experience palpitations when passing a yarn shop? Sneak new yarn purchases into the house, utter the words "just one more row," plan your vacation around yarn store locations, secretly scope out new spots to store your stash. If you answered yes to one or more of these, and I think I've probably answered yes to nearly all of them, you are at risk of becoming an obsessive knitter. Too late, I'm already obsessive. This totally incurable condition is sure to be helped by Stephanie Pearl McPhee's humorous and heartfelt meditations. Her tangled reflections on the knitter's life will keep you in stitches and unravel your tensions for many warm and woolly moments to come. And I think it was Stephanie Pearl McPhee that said, because at the time when I first met my husband, I said, I'm going to knit you a jumper, and I've been trying to find the right yarn for, well, I think I've given up now, about 10 years. And she said in one of her books, never knit your boyfriend a jumper. The knitting of the garment will last longer than your relationship. So, but I've never been able to find the right yarn, which is really annoying. So I'm going to start off with knitting him something simpler like mittens. They look rather easy, she said. So, book number 2. If you're on Ravelry or Instagram or anything social media, you may possibly have heard of Stephanie Dawson. Stephanie Dawson is known as Tiny Owl Knits, and I found her, I don't know how, a few years ago, and I mentioned about being obsessed with the Beekeeper's quilt. So she's the one responsible for that pattern. She also has a few books out, and this one was a present for my husband for my birthday or Christmas. Mainly, probably birthday. It's called Woodland Knits. It's a gorgeous book, but something I've been desperately wanting to knit for many, many years is this beautiful fox. I think it's called, yeah, Mr. Fox Stole My Heart. I've seen it knitted up on numerous blogs and on Instagram, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And as we've been blessed with a fox that seems to be living in our back garden, I think it would be kind of perfect. Now my next book, another knitting book, is by Lynn Rowe and Betson Corkill, and it's called Knit Yourself Calm, A Creative Path to Managing Stress. I had started knitting something from this. My daughter saw the book, and then she saw this pattern and said, can you knit me the bear? So my list of stuff to knit, my daughter, is getting longer. So this is, I had started this. It's a pretty simple pattern. However, I put it down and I hadn't picked up knitting for quite some time since. So I don't know what's happened to the bear. I know it is probably armless and legless. I think I knitted the head, I can't remember. I didn't get very far, but yes. This is a lovely book. I got this from Amazon. I was going through a bit of a stressful time, and because I have a chronic illness, I have to sit down a little bit more than I used to do. So I bought myself this to make myself sit down and not do anything I shouldn't do. It kind of worked for 5 minutes. And that's a Search Press book, and as is this one, and this was a present for my birthday. Now that I do remember. It was the first time I'd been to Manchester in many, many years. I can't even remember why I went to Manchester in the first place. I went on the tram, so it would have been probably about before I had my daughter, I think. So it was probably about 7, 8 years ago. No, since then, I'm sure. Well, it was a few years ago, and my mum and dad bought me magical Shetland lace shawls to knit. Feather soft and incredibly light. 15 great patterns and full instructions by Elizabeth Lovick. Now I can't knit lace, to be honest I've never tried, and this is just absolutely gorgeous. So I've added it to the list of things I want to learn to knit. So I want to learn to knit Fair Isle, Intarsia and lace. So I'm hoping that I can master this because I'd love to knit lace. And some of these patterns and projects are just gorgeous. So that's my next book. And then another book I've got, I've never knitted anything from it. I bought a few knitting books a few years ago, and then I have problems in the winter with my hands cracking a lot because I wash my hands quite a lot. Obviously having a child as well, you wash them more than you would normally. And so I use this. It's really cheap from Sainsbury's. In fact, I use these two. I interchanged them the other day. It's Keep It Handy Hydrating Cream. It's fantastic. It's really good. I've used really expensive creams, and this seems to be really good. It really cleared up the. I have eczema as well and dermatitis, and so it's cleared it up pretty much, and it's made my skin really nice and soft. But this one I use all the time. I've even bought a new bottle because this is my second one, and it's Intensive Dry Skin Hand Cream with Cocoa Butter. My Skin Matters by Sainsbury's, and I can really highly recommend this one as well. It's really helped keep my hands soft, and as the weather changes, that's how I know as well, because my hands start to get really sore and they start to crack. Touch wood, they've not so far, and they seem to be still quite soft, and I'm determined because I want to keep cross stitching and I want to keep knitting through winter, because usually I have to give up completely and I'm left with sewing at my machine, and I can't really always do that quite a lot for long periods of time. So yes, highly recommend these. So for my last book, I've chosen, this is by, I think it's by Yoko Sato, and she is a quilter, and she has a few books out. I'm sure that's her name because I looked it up last night when I edited the video that will never be seen. But this, I love Japanese sewing books. I can't read Japanese, but the instructions in the books, they are so detailed. They're fantastic. Now, I don't have a clue where I got this book from. It must have been Etsy, but according to my Etsy purchases, I must have got it from, it was either Pompadour or another shop that I shop from. Is it Pompadour? 64, the shop? I'd have to double check. I'm pretty sure that's where I got it from, or there's another one that I used to buy from quite a lot, and they're not cheap because obviously they have to be, you have to pay air postage or whatever it is from Japan, and it's not very cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than getting something from America, let's say. But these are just stunning and I love them. And that's a key ring as well on the back. And the patterns, they come as really huge double-sided pages, so they do take a bit of working out. But to be honest, they are pretty simple to follow. Very well described, and the descriptions of them is just, they're amazing. But this book, I'm going to start trying to figure out what the fabric I need is, and I'm going to start saving up or collecting fabrics for this book especially, so I can start recreating these, because they're not just it's not just quilts, they're literally art in themselves. They're like textile art pieces. They're gorgeous. But that's my favourite books. I have more and I will share them next time, I think. So what have I been listening to? Now, I'm a big fan of Audible, and just to let you know, I'm not sponsored by Audible in any way, but I have a subscription to Audible, and I'm glad I do, because you get so much content, not just because you get tokens every month, and you can use them to get some quite expensive books. The very first book I got was a collection of 3 Gothic tales. It was the Gothic collection, which was Dracula, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I've listened to Frankenstein. I'm listening to Frankenstein now. I've listened to Jekyll and Hyde, and I'll have Dracula left. And that was a £50 book, and I got it for free because I went through. I think it was Bernadette Banner, and then I kept up the subscription after the free 30-day trial, because I'm dyslexic, so I love books, but I don't always get to sit and read them, and when I do, if I'm really tired, it's impossible, because for me, words, they move about and jump on the page, and I reread pages and I get really annoyed and fed up, and I just kind of put it to one side and I'll start another book after that. I used to have like 3 or 4 books on the go at once. However, my memory now is not as good as it used to be, so Audible's fantastic for that. And also I can listen to it whilst I'm sewing and whilst I'm knitting and at bedtime. I've started doing that rather than watching YouTube, because I was finding I was binge watching YouTube, and when I'm in pain, which is when I listen to some of the Audible podcasts and books that I've got, it really does help me to distract from the pain. So I have found a new podcast. They are called Make It Good, a knitting podcast. They are Jessica and Karen, and they are from Lebanon. I forgot which part of America that is. I cannot remember for the life of me. Lebanon. I can't remember the state. But the 2 podcasts I've listened to probably about a handful of them, but the 2 that really stand out that I really enjoyed were the Rhinebeck Sweater, which is a place in, is it New York? It's kind of like, it's like their Wool Fest or Festival of Quilts. Lots of knitters go to this place and they'll knit a jumper to do with the area, and it's called the Rhinebeck Sweater. And also stitch markers, which sounds really boring, but I love stitch markers and they're very useful. And they also gave advice that if you drop a stitch, you can use it to pick up your stitch, and I didn't think of that. But as I said, to be honest, I was gonna frog this anyway. I'm glad I did. I really am, because now I'm having more fun knitting it. Before it was kind of like, I'm knitting the shawl now. But now I'm knitting the shawl and I'm really enjoying it. Also, I listened to bedtime stories, which was, because the podcasts are free on Audible. You get free content as well as your tokens a month. And there's loads of podcasts for free. I listen to Casual Criminalist, which is on YouTube as well. But I tend to listen on there, and there's a load of others. And I also listen to bedtime stories, which are bedtime stories to help you to sleep. And Pumpkin Stew and Quilt Collecting are the 2 that I really like on there. There's bedtime meditations, there's Bore Yourself to Sleep podcast, which is, that's absolutely fantastic if you really can't sleep. He's ever so boring. He's called Teddy. I can highly recommend Audible, and especially just for the free podcasts, to be honest. And I have about 50 odd books in my library. Most of them are for my daughter. But I have all sorts of different things. Facts, factual ones, and fiction, and all sorts of things. And also an autumnal book which is called The Halloween Tree, which was it was mentioned by Darling Desi. Darling Desi is a YouTuber that I follow, and she's a lifestyle YouTuber, and I especially absolutely love her autumn videos, because it's my favourite time, autumn and Halloween. And she has lots of others, but they're definitely my favourite ones. And her name again is Darling Desi, and I will put her in the description, her information. So here's a controversial thing. It's a question. Well, is it controversial? I don't know. And funnily enough, I have something in common with Jessica from the Make Good a Knitting podcast. I am a very bad swatcher. I don't like doing swatches. I hate them. Like I mentioned with my husband's jumper that I wanted to knit him. The reason it's never been knitted is because I have the pattern. I have never been able to find the yarn to go with it, and I've done swatch after swatch, and they're either too big, either the yarn was too thick, too chunky, or it was too thin and it was always small and the needles were always wrong, and oh, that's why I gave up, because I hate swatches. I don't ever really swatch. I never did in the first place, but I figured I have to swatch because I wanted to find the right yarn. I just gave up. I mean, does it really matter if you're knitting a shawl and it turns out to be a bit bigger, or a jumper that turns out to be a little bit bigger? Won't that just make a nice cozy autumn winter jumper? Yeah, exactly. So do you, if you are a knitter or crocheter, do you swatch? Do you like swatching? What's your favourite yarn, and what's your favourite knitting needles? I told you mine, which are circular, Leica circular knitting needles, fixed. So how about a comment below that, so you can let me know what your favourite yarn is, and do you swatch, or are you a rebel like me and you don't bother? So it's a good question, isn't it? I spoke about this with a Facebook friend of mine, Anna, who has some crochet books out, and she was also on Kirsty's Handmade Christmas one year. And she did this beautiful crocheted, she did this gorgeous crocheted wreath. I might shut the window, just, I'm sorry, excuse me, because there's a large bee onesie. I think I'll leave the window shut now. It was like that, it was huge. Don't know if you heard it. It's definitely outside. But yes, she said, I think she said it was a bit naughty for not swatching, because you should really swatch, but I find them really boring and really tedious. And yeah, so do you swatch? Who have I been watching on YouTube? Let's get to that bit. I've been watching quite a lot of YouTube lately. Who do we start with? Retro Claude. Retro Claude is a knitter, a sewist, and she's a dress historian. And she has, a lot of her patterns tend to be kind of 1930s, 1940s, 1950s. She also has a huge yarn stash, and it was attacked by moths. So after figuring out how much yarn she had, she decided to use it for useful knits. So that's things like jumpers and shawls and things. And she knitted a Tara shawl. And it's a beautiful shawl, and it really does go with whatever history-bounding outfits she wears. But she was knitting it in a particular colour, and I actually have to agree. She changed the colour. She picked it out and she changed it from a yellow to like a greeny, bluey colour. And I have to admit, as much as I love yellow, mustard yellow, the new colour worked a lot better, and it was a beautiful shawl. I'd love to knit it, but I think it's a bit beyond my skills. But I can definitely recommend Claude. She's also disabled as well, so I have been watching especially her videos on really good ways of allocating your energy and your time when you are not in a great state, shall we say, because lately my pain levels have been quite high, because obviously the changing weather doesn't help. And when you have a chronic illness, it's kind of annoying. You just want it to be one thing or another, and this is Britain, so we don't have that stability of weather. And I have taken some of her advice, and it's really helped. So it's been fab. and watching her, it's great to follow her journey of sewing, so I can highly recommend Claude, Retro Claude. Also Craft House Magic, she's a knitter, she's based in Norfolk, and she's got a little baby boy called Jensen, and he makes an appearance at the end of every one of her podcasts, and he's gorgeous, and her knitting is amazing. It's absolutely fantastic, and she dyes her own yarn as well. Okay, why don't these people live near me? All these wonderful knitters would make fantastic neighbours. They really would. They'd never get rid of me. I'd always be knocking on the door for yarn. Or cups of tea and knitting. And then there's Arnold's Attic. I've been subscribed to Arnold's Attic for quite a while now, it's probably about 2 years. And I binge watch a lot of her videos. So she's done things like been to the Festival of Quilts, and she will interview artists who are exhibiting or have a stand at the Festival of Quilts, and also she will have a chat to textile artists like Cass Holmes, and I think she's spoken to Joe Hill, Dion Swift, who I've done some workshops with, and she's really lovely. Is it Anne Kelly as well? That's just to name a few. She's interviewed a lot of artists. It's not just textile, but printing and knitting and sewing and all those sorts of people, and her videos are always really, really interesting. And she asks some amazing questions you wouldn't think to ask, so you get to hear a lot of really great information and advice as well. The Meaningful Stitcher. I've just discovered the Meaningful Stitcher. Her name is Amy Palko. She's based in Scotland, and I watched 2 of her videos pretty much back to back. And the first one was an hour and a half, and it was literally just on her shawls. Both of the videos were on her shawls. She has something like 26, so she split the video into 2 because it would have been a lot longer. And they're, out of all of her videos, I think my favourites, because I've got an obsession with shawls at the moment. I think because with the cold weather setting in, I think it's going to be perfect when I'm sat downstairs kind of knitting or sewing, because I love to hand stitch as well and cross stitch when I'm more awake, because lately I've not been too awake to do cross stitch, which is why I've kind of slightly abandoned it a little bit. I won't abandon it forever. I will explain all that in my next video, but I will also show the quilt tops I've been making as well. But her shawl wool videos were absolutely amazing. She has a thing for Stephen West patterns, and his patterns are actually quite lovely, I have to admit. I'd like to have a go at knitting one, of his shawls that is. So yeah, that's who I've been listening to and who I've been watching. Wool shops. Now, I love a good wool shop. I have come up with an idea that when I'm having a really bad day, my husband, I think, has agreed to this, I'm going to have to remind him, but I'm going to find a list of yarn shops local to me. It's about the furthest I'll probably go is like an hour and a half, but somewhere we can take lunch with us when our daughter's in school. And I thought, like, when I'm really bad, to have a mooch around a really good yarn shop, and starting hopefully with Black Sheep Wools in Warrington. But I've been discovering new yarn shops thanks to YouTubers, and I can't remember any list of them. I can't remember the ones I've looked at because I've looked at quite a few. But as I said, I'll be ordering. Did I say I'm going to be putting an order into Wool Warehouse today? Yeah, I'm going to be ordering the yarn for the Wild Rabbit project I mentioned last video, sorry, and the Peter Rabbit one. So if you want to know what they are, how about you pop on to my first video and have a look. I'll try and link or find images, and if I can edit this video, I'll add it to the video if I'm able to. So that's my big, well, actually there's one big project. Are you at a loose end? do you want to do a make along? If so, there is a really lovely lady, and I've been watching her videos as well to add to my list. Jana from Finnish Knitting Stories, who's also known as, I forgot her Instagram, but I'll put all that information underneath, I promise. Is it Ketsu Knits? I could be wrong, and if I mispronounce that, I'm really sorry. I just know her as Finnish Knitting Stories on YouTube because I have been binge watching her videos. She has an idea to make a scrappy happy blanket. It's a knit along or a make along that started this month and will go on until September 2023-ish. There's no rules, but if you are a crocheter, a knitter, or even a sewer, and you want to knit, crochet, or sew your happy scrappy quilt blanket, you're most welcome to. So you need to, if you're on Ravelry, you need to kind of upload your pictures to Ravelry, and there's a group on Ravelry for that, or Instagram, with the hashtag happy scrappy blanket MAL. So that's happy scrappy blanket MAL, which stands for make along. So that's what I'm going to be doing, because what I want to do is the yarn from the rabbit knitting projects that I've got, that I'm going to be doing, I don't want the yarn sitting around for absolutely eons. So I want to be able to use it and use it up as soon as I've finished the rabbits. So I want to knit the beekeeper's quilt using those yarns from those projects. I did have, and it's over somewhere else, and getting up and down is not easy today. So I have got a big jar. It's about yay big by about yay big. It's a glass jar. It was full of what's called cabbage and coleslaw, which is bits of fabric which are teeny tiny or big enough to make something from. And it was full of fabric. Now it isn't, it's empty. And I'm going to use it as a savings jar. So I want to start making my own clothes next year. I think I've mentioned that. And I also have a new obsession of the hinterland dress. And I'd like to make quite a few of them in different cottons and maybe even linens, maybe even wool, we'll see. So to buy fabrics and wools and things like that, I need to save up. So I'm going to hopefully save up what I can in the jar, and I will share that savings journey with you. Don't know how much I'm going to save up yet, we'll see. Also, my future plans include visiting Festival of Quilts and having a really good proper day there, because that's all we're doing for that's all we would really be able to actually manage. And I might even get to meet Kate from The Last Homely House, which is another YouTuber I absolutely love watching. She's absolutely fantastic to watch, and I can highly recommend her channel too. She went this year and she even got to interview a few people, 1 or 2 artists, and she got to meet, is it Cafe Facet? Is that how you say his name? She got to interview him, which was really cool. But yes, save up a little bit so I can do a little bit of shopping. Also, I would really like to enter a quilt. I think they've actually changed some of the rules for entering quilts. I'm sure they have, as who can and cannot enter, because I'm pretty sure, and because I'd done textile diplomas and stuff, I couldn't enter things like the art one, the art quilt, but I think I can now, I'm not sure. In the future, thanks to Amy Palko from The Meaningful Stitcher, I want to knit a Stephen West shawl. So that's also on the cards for future plans. So I think I'm going to leave it there for now, because that's bound to conk or something, or I don't know, and I'm going to have a really good go at editing this, because I'm thinking this is actually a shorter video. If you're still with me, thank you. I hope you enjoyed this little bit of a natter. I didn't get to do any knitting, but maybe next time. Hopefully my next podcast will be showing my sewing, and my cross stitch whips, because there are a lot and there's quite a few kitted up, as you will see. So yes, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you will subscribe, and if you do, as I've said, hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when I upload next. I'm hoping it will be next week. It may be another 2 weeks, I'm not sure. And I think I kind of have an order for the video slightly sorted, but this is me, and chaos will reign and it will become higgledy-piggledy, I'm sure. So until my next video, thank you for joining me, and thank you for still joining me if you are, if you've been with my channel for a little while. Any new viewers, I hope that you'll subscribe, and I hope you'll come back and we can have another chat. So thank you so much for sticking with me if you're still here. I will see you again very soon. Any information, anything I've talked about, or anything interesting that I find, I will link in the description box below. Leave a comment, say hello, let me know how long you've been knitting, sewing, even crocheting for. That's something that I want to learn. I should add that to my future plans. I want to learn to knit Fair Isle intarsia lace, and I want to learn to crochet. People have tried to teach me, it hasn't always worked. I tried to teach myself and my yarn and my hook ended up across the room and I lost the hook. I still to this day don't know where that hook is. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling. I will let you get on with your day. I have been Samantha of Autumn Rabbit Crafts, and if I don't see you on YouTube, hopefully I will see you on Instagram or Pinterest or Ravelry, or wherever else. I forgot where I've mentioned that I'm known for. So I hope I'll see you again, and I will now stop. I'm waffling. I waffle a lot. I hope you have a lovely day, week, weekend, and I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon. Thank you again for joining me, and I will see you later on. So goodbye everybody.